If the consumers of all industrialized countries turned off their household appliances rather than leaving them standby, they could close down at least 24 coal-fired power plants in the world. Do you realize the saving?
But now listen to me. Today at school we have spoken about the greenhouse effect.
The greenhouse effect. What is it? It is the warming of the atmosphere and of the ground, due to the presence of gases which absorb and send back to the Earth's surface part of the infrared rays emitted by the ground, warmed up by the solar radiation. The main greenhouse gases are water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide. But let's see how these gases are produced. They mainly come from the use of fossil fuels in industries for heating, but also in air conditioners and motor vehicles. Another important source for carbon dioxide is deforestation. As a matter of fact, plants are tanks of absorption of carbon dioxide, which they use for the photosynthetic process. Nitrous oxide, another important greenhouse gas, comes from the use of fertilizers in agriculture, while from the combustion of waste in the incinerator, carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide are released in the atmosphere. Finally, methane is released in the atmosphere from the decomposition of the organic substance in the dumps and from the biological activities in farming. So also light bulbs, heating systems and LEDs use fossil fuels to work and contribute to increase the concentration of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. In 1992, during the Summit of the Earth held in Rio de Janeiro, they spoke about global warming for the first time. According to the scientists of IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change of the United Nations, the temperature on our planet might increase between 1.4 degrees Celsius and 5.8 degrees Celsius from 1990 to 2100. On December the 11th, 1997, the 160 industrialized countries, which met for the third conference of the United Nations on climatic changes, subscribed to an international treaty, the Kyoto Protocol. This treaty provides for the obligation to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions at least of 5.2% in comparison with the levels of 1990 in the period from 2008 to 2012. To come into force, the treaty should have been ratified by no fewer than 55 states, responsible for at least 55% of the emissions in 1990. In order not to obstruct their growth, developing countries such as China, India and Brazil have not been invited to reduce their polluting emissions. The USA are the states with the greatest amount of greenhouse gas emissions. Actually, they are responsible for 36.1% of total emissions, but they have never subscribed the treaty which, on the contrary, has been approved by European Union, Japan, Canada and by other countries which altogether produce the 37% of emissions. In 1998, Italy undertook to reduce its own emissions of 6.5%. The USA have never ratified the protocol which, however, came into force on 16th of February 2005, thanks to the ratification of Russian Federation. Let's see now what the consequences of global warming are. Variations in the presence of animals and vegetables, with an increase of the risk of extinction, spread of viruses and pathogenic bacteria, cholera, malaria, yellow fever, Asian tiger mosquito, and tropical diseases, which are spreading in the basin of the Mediterranean Sea. An increase in the temperature of seawaters and the death of corals, which can live only at given temperatures. an increase in evaporation and consequently in water vapor in the atmosphere. As a result, in the north of Italy more precipitations occur and the risk of landslides increases. On the contrary, the south of Italy is undergoing a process of desertification as a consequence of the decreasing rains. Another consequence of the global warming is the reduction of the polar ice caps and the melting of the alpine glaciers with an increase in volume and level of seawaters. There is also the risk of flood for coast areas and cities, as well as the danger for archipelagos and coral reefs of being submerged.
What does this have to do with me?
By his daily behavior, each Italian emits up to 21 kilos of carbon dioxide a day. For this reason, it is essential for each of us to make a contribution to the solution of this problem. We can save up to 13 grams of carbon dioxide for every minute a day a traditional light bulb is off. Moreover, if we use the bulbs at a low consumption of energy at home, they would last up to 10 times longer and would consume a fifth, compared to the incandescent ones, the emission of light being equal. If we adjust the thermostat to have a temperature of only 1 degree less at home, we will save energy and money. €1 a square meter every year.
Would you mean that in our house, which is 100 square meters, we would save up to €100 a year?
By avoiding to keep TV sets, video recorders and other electronic systems on standby, you can save up to 13% of electric energy every year.